All right, so I'm doing the GDP and how it's a measure of the country's well-being. Um, so GDP, what it is, it represents all the goods and services and the value of those over a specific period of time. Typically, we look at it in a year, and it's going to measure the consumption, investments, uh, government purchases, and net exports. So like examples of consumption would be I go to the grocery store and buy a chocolate bar. Investment would be I invest in certain companies. I think they're going to do well. Government purchase would be government deciding to pay for highways or something like that. And then the net exports would be the like the natural resources that we would export to another country. So an example of a country that has a high GDP would be the USA, and um, the USA is relatively high. They have good well-being, and that's a result of their high GDP. What they have is, or what we have is a lot of natural resources. Not only do we have them, but we're efficient with extracting them, and then we can use them ourselves. We can export them to other countries. Um, and we also have a very high productivity. Now, um, we may not be doing as much manual labor as a lower GDP country, but what we have is we work efficiently because we can manufacture um, highly technological things like cars, computers. We have coders that can code for companies to be the most efficient. So we have a lot of brain power at work, and it's it may be not as much manual labor, but it's um, it's labor and work that produces high value goods. That's a big factor of GDP. All right, now let's look at a lower lower GDP country. Let's take I was looking it up. Let's take Gambia for example. They're pretty far down on the list. They're going to be a country who pretty much everyone's working in the fields doing agriculture. But unlike the U.S., where we're doing agriculture, a small percentage of us are doing agriculture, but we're feeding others. People, say in Gambia, are doing agriculture, but they're only using it to feed themselves. They can't export it. They can't sell it. Other people can't consume it. Um, so the GDP is lower as a result because they need the stuff. Their work is for themselves. It doesn't really have a lot of value to others. And because most people are doing agriculture, they don't have people who are being innovative and developing new technologies, which are a common sign of high GDP countries. High GDP countries have big cities, a lot of white collar workers, not so much in the low GDP countries. All right, so how is this going to affect the well being of the country? So for the US, they have all these innovative jobs that, like, the more jobs there are like this, there are more opportunities for people to explore what they want to do. And because the GDP is so high, gives people the freedom to pursue what they want. Whereas a country like Gambia, low GDP, like their only option really is to go work for the family once they're old enough, and usually it starts pretty young. There's no really opportunity to expand their horizons or like even go to college. It's a luxury that we have as a stable economy because enough money is flowing that we can get loans out in the U.S. We don't need people between the age of 18 and 22 in the workforce right away. So it gives us time, gives me time, gives my peers time to go to school and develop um, more specialized traits, which then will go into the workforce and then contribute to the high GDP because there's some specialization involved. Um, Whereas kids in Gambia don't really have that to look forward to. There's a correlation between uh, lifespan and infant mortality rate. Um, Higher GDP is longer lifespan, less infant mortality, and vice versa for low GDP. So overall, GDP is a measure of well-being economically because it means money is flowing in and out of the country, and there's a lot of money in the country being consumed, being produced, being purchased, exported, and imported. Um, uh, and then it's also um, a sign of well-being, like for people. They're living longer, they're healthier in high GDP countries. Um, I wouldn't go as far as to say that people are happier, but they might be more comfortable. I think happiness is just more of a like anyone can be happy. It doesn't matter whatever situation you're in, anyone can be happy, but it's definitely more of a comfortable feeling for high GDP countries. But yeah, overall, it's a good measure of well-being.